You know how you leave milk and cookies out for Santa?
Yeah.
Tradition? Well, for Krampus, you leave out schnapps.
That's awesome.
So, this Krampus run is very, very fueled by alcohol. Lots of drunken young men gather, in elaborate Krampus costumes.
Oh, I want to see this.
Yes, I'm going to be posting the pictures because they're horrifying. It's very traditional to have your Krampus mask carved out of wood. And they're very ornate, and actually it's super impressive. The masks they make, like, some people go cheap and do like a more modern latex stuff now, but to be traditional, you need to have a carved mask. And I can't remember the name of the carved mask. I didn't write it down. I should have. But, so these drunk young men dress up as Krampus. They wear, it's traditional to use, sheep skin or, mountain goats, cause in that area that you have access to that stuff, as the fur for your body.
Okay.
You cover yourself with fur. They have chains, they have ringing cowbells is a big thing. They ring the cowbells as they come in. So, what they do is they basically get really drunk and dress up, and then everyone lines the streets, and they come into town, and all this big group of Krampuses come through. And they have
Krampuses.
Drunk ones. And they have switches with them, and they will whip people as they pass them. Smack people. And all these people are lined up to get smacked by them, which I don't even understand. And even in some places, they make children run through a Krampus gauntlet.
Oh, God.
Where they have to dodge swats from birch sticks from all the Krampuses. Sometimes, the Krampus men who are drunk, obviously, get a little carried away and leave bruises from their switches on people's shins. They basically focus their beatings on shins and legs. So they are whipping them.
Hurt.
Yes, because you know how it hurts to hit your shin, and they're whipping you with switches.
And there's no meat on your shin. It's just a bone with skin on top of it.
I know. So there's places in like Austria, particularly, that have several nights worth of Krampus runs. And tourists go to see, and I kind of want to go to it. Like, it sounds kind of terrifying. Fun, yeah.
It's like the Christmas version of a haunted house.
That's exactly what people say.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. So, another thing that happens during, the Krampus run is that postcards depicting Krampus started being exchanged, and that became a big deal, like the Krampus greeting card. So instead of having Christmas cards that we give out, they exchange Krampus ones. They're called Gruss von Krampus, greetings from Krampus, and they show Krampus in action, sticking kids inside a sack, to hell. Them taunting children and whipping them. That's what they show. In the beginning, they were really kind of creepy and scary, and as time went on, they got more comical, as people, changed and stuff. So, but the weird thing that started happening also is they started becoming more seductive with Krampus.
Oh.
And there was like cards of him propositioning busty women. He really liked the women with big boobs, apparently.
He does have that switch.
He does. And the switch, they say is kind of phallic when they draw it.
Oh, God.
So, but here's the thing. When I was doing research for this, I was trying to find like a book about the legend of Krampus, like reading about it. And it was really hard to find a book because I have Kindle and I have Scribd, and both are just filled. If you type Krampus in, I am not kidding you, you're going to find hundreds upon hundreds of Krampus erotica.
Oh, God.
That's all. I was like, is this a thing? It's a thing.
Yeah, but some women like a hairy man with a goat foot, I guess.
Yes, like the long tongue. Anyway.
That's not hair, that's a pelt.
Yeah, he's covered in it. Matted hair, too, it said. So, if you're into that thing, there's lots of Krampus erotica out there for you to read. So, whatever you're...
I think I'll pass.
Yeah, I'm not judging if that's what you're into. I'm not into that, but it's okay if you are, I guess. So, Krampus recently in like the 2000s, kind of gained some popularity in the U.S. and people didn't even really, I never knew a Krampus when I was younger. Like we didn't hear of that. There was a book, actually by the graphic designer Monte Uwachamp. He published a book of Krampus, the Krampus postcards. Like he kind of got fascinated with these postcards, and then he organized an art show inspired by the cards. So it kind of brought it to the U.S. where people started, like, got this cult following where people were like, oh, what is this Krampus thing? And people kind of got into doing it. It made its way into our pop culture. Like Brothers Grimm, the Grimm TV show, they had stuff with Krampus. I think Supernatural had an episode on Krampus.
It wasn't Krampus, though. They thought it might have been Krampus, but it ended up being, like, two, like, European druid god things. They were pagan gods. Same idea.
They said, like, every part of Europe has a different version of a Krampus-like person that accompanies Saint Nick. So there's all these different ones out there that are all named Krampus. I didn't write all the names down, but you can look those up. Like, different areas of Europe have their own version of a Krampus. Like the yin to Santa's yang kind of thing. So in 2015, a movie Krampus called Krampus came out here in the U.S. So it's increasingly becoming popular here. And there's a lot of American cities that are having Krampus parties now and Krampus costume contests and doing the traditional Krampus lofts, what are the Krampus runs. So I want to find where they're having them, and I want to go.
Oh, for sure.
Cool to see and experience. So the thing is, they're like, if Krampus predates Christianity, there was really obviously there's no photography. People, so they were like, how did they, like, spread, like, there wasn't the internet, obviously, but it was spread, from oral tradition, where they spread the story from town to town. It kind of spread throughout, Europe, Austria and Switzerland and Hungary and all those areas just by word of mouth.
Yeah, but the way that they treat Krampus now, he probably would spread it around.
Right?
He'd spread it all over the place.
Yeah. He's definitely changed from being something to scare children to a seductive thing, which is creepy.
It's probably just a way to get your kids to mind. Because we kind of do that this time of year, too, with, like, Santa's elves are watching you, you don't want to get coal in your stocking.
Yeah, exactly. But can you imagine if you used Krampus instead?
It's terrifying.
Kids would never be bad.
They would not like Christmas either.
So
I can't go to bed tonight. Like, Krampus is going to come and take me to hell.
So they think like how his like what he looks like came about because they were in these remote places in like the Alps. So what did they have easily on hand, right? So they had horns from goats and things. They had pelts from the mountain goat and they had straw and hay, and traditional costumes are made from what was around. So that's where he got his like creepy appearance. Some of them even are just covered in hay. They're like, he's like the original boogeyman, basically. Like, you have to be good or the boogeyman will get you kind of story. So some of them were just blobs of creepiness, and they used hay just to cover the whole body. So there was a lot of different takes on Krampus and what he could look like, but when it comes down to it, when Christianity took it over, they made it more like a Satan or a devil look because it fit into their agenda, basically.
Right.
And like here in the US, I think a lot of it people find, so I think like I love Christmas, but it can be overly saccharine, it can be too much of a good thing for some people maybe, and people find like the dark humor of Krampus, which we are laughing hysterically about, There's some humor there, and we see the humor and we appreciate that. And I think that's why it's become popular here. It's more the embrace of it's kind of funny to see the postcards of kids getting shoved into these sacks. It's just, and I work with children, and I think it's hysterical. So, like, I think in the U.S. it's like become like that cult following, that dark humor, people that are just want to have something different this time of year. Especially a lot of people that love Halloween, like it because it extends it into the Christmas month. And, they said it's like taking, like the Krampus runs is like, it's scarier than a Halloween haunted house sometimes, because it's depending on where you are and how they do it, it can get real creepy and kids start crying. But people go, I mean, it's like, you can't kill Krampus. They tried to ban him, and it just didn't work because he's so much part of their tradition and their culture that he just keeps going. So when you hear the jingle on Christmas Eve and you're like, oh, Santa's sleigh bell, it could actually be the chains of Krampus coming to drag you to hell. I don't know. I just think Krampus is fascinating. I like looking at the postcards, and I'll share some of the postcards, because it's comical. They're very comical, and some of them are like erotic and weird and like creep me out a little bit. And if you're into that thing, you can find all sorts of it out there. So yeah, that's legend and of Krampus and where he comes from. Like I said, they don't know exactly the real true origin of him, but they do know it's pre-Christianity. And then the Christians kind of took it on to help push the whole Satan thing, but Krampus, scary.
Yay!
But I really like him too at the same time. And they said this in the pre-Christianity version of him, he really wasn't bad. He was more of just, trying to get kids to, they didn't talk about him eating children or stuff like that. It was more of he would come and smack you because, back then smacking your kids around was perfectly acceptable.
Yes, it was.
And now we don't do that.
That's much.
I'm pretty sure like a birch switch is going to leave a mark. You can't do that, so. And they said that they take the birch switches and they'll paint the ends of it gold, so they're decorative. So when you beat your children with it, it's at least pretty.
It's pretty, yes. It's very festive.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to get some birch switches and paint the ends gold and hang them up in my house for part of my decorations this year.
You should put one up. If you're like, what's that for? Ooh, it's Krampus's,
Celebrating Krampusnacht. I don't know how to say
schnapps.
It. Yeah, yes. On December 5th, I'm going to have some schnapps, and I'm going to hang my birch switch on the wall. That's what I'm doing.
Perfect.
Taking this on. And then next year, Margaret, we should plan to find a place. I think it said in Pennsylvania, someplace in Pennsylvania, they do the Krampus run. So we'll have to figure that out and drive there and experience it.
Yeah, and my idea is for anybody who does the Buy Me a Coffee, we could send them their own Krampus postcard.
I like it.
Special Cousins Weird Krampus holiday postcard.
Yeah, you're one of our supporters on buymeacoffee.com/thecousinsweird. We will send you your own Krampus. What's it called? Gruss? Hold on. Gruss von Krampus. Greetings from Krampus. You'll get your own card from us. We're not going to send out Christmas cards this year. We're sending out Krampus cards.
Right.
So that's this week's episode. It wasn't super long, but Krampus pretty much sums up pretty quickly. He's, what more can you know? Other than he's going to either seduce you or take you to hell and eat you. That's what he does. Oh, there you go. We're going to put our link tree in the description so you can get to our website. You can see our merch. You can, find our way to support us through buymeacoffee.com. And, you can follow us on Facebook and TikTok and YouTube and Instagram at The Cousins Weird. And if you have cool ideas and you want to reach out to us at
thecousinsweird@gmail.com.
Hope you have a fantastic